Everyone, this is our Board of Equalization and Tax Cancellation. And when we move between the meetings, we will actually have to exit as Board of Equalization. So that's where we'll start. It's February 29th, 2024. The time is 11:04 a.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. In attendance are Commissioners Brooks, Matari, and Duncan. Are there changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we will go ahead with our first item. This is board decision on over-applied 2023 end of year, property assessment roll homeowners exemption. So.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Dyson Savage, Chief Deputy Assessor for the record. In front of you, you'll have a little Excel sheet that I want to provide to Commissioners to kind of help reference what we're talking about when we're talking about this issue. As we had talked about in the status update, this is some pins that had an additional homeowners calculation done on them in the roll correction queue. This calculation put them above the cap for the homeowners correction. So as you can see, we're talking about 16 pins and a total of over-applied homeowners exemption of $1,441,103, which translates to roughly $4,000 in taxes. The reason we're bringing this before you is part of our statutory duties to determine if this was a county error. We determined that it was a county error. That can be a variety of county errors. But we determined that this happened on our end, which means that we present to you what happened, and you make a decision to either waive the recollection of these homeowners exemptions or not.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Is this on the occupancy roll or was this on the annual roll?
This is the occupancy roll.
So we haven't sent those bills yet, so there's nothing to recapture yet.
Yeah.
Right? And are we certain that if we go forward and do the roll correction in the system, correct the 125 parcels in the system, are we certain that we cannot correct the extra homeowners credit so that when the bills go out, it's not reflected or collected?
I think we could. The question is if we could unilaterally do that as the assessor's office. We did send them an assessment notice that reflected this homeowners exemption, and we didn't want to take that off of their assessment and just do it in the system because they have been notified that they have received it.
But if we correct the 125 parcels in the system, if we do what the treasurer's office has recommended and resend the assessment notices, give them the statutorily allowed 28 days to appeal per 63-317, we will have sent a corrected, maybe we can send a note with the corrected assessment notice for those pins, telling them that they, in the first notice, their homeowner's exemption was overstated. And then there's no, if we haven't collected anything, we don't have to recapture anything. It's not even a question.
I understand. When we read it, it's when we applied it and then sent out a notice seemed to be the mechanism that we had to kind of go down this road as we were reading it in the second half. So when we applied it and notified them of it, it kind of gets out of our hands as far as our reading goes to make the correction. It has to be either waived or not because it's increasing the amount that they would pay.
Right.
Can we ask Alan his opinion?
Sure.
Well, thank you. I'm not sure. I'm looking at the code on occupancy tax, and I noted that somebody had sent me earlier today, I think it was Jill, some comments from Matt Virgil a year ago about the 28 days, which I have no disagreement with. That's in law for appeals. I'm curious about the issue of corrections on that because it's not very clear. I'm not aware where it talks about corrections. Assessment notices, Kathleen, have correction routines, right? There's something in law on that, but I don't know if that, matches back to occupancy tax. Honestly, I don't think I've ever had this question before. Kathleen, any thoughts?
Can I ask a question here? This is Commissioner Matari. What happens if these pins did not have the homeowner's exemption and we actually sent out notices that would have been more than what the property owner should have paid? Would we not have to make an adjustment because we made an error?
Well, you're allowed to do that. You can cancel taxes at any time when you find errors, right, under 1302. And so you certainly could do that if you feel that that's appropriate. if it's, part of my confusion last week was whether we were talking about things on the property roll or subsequent roll, missed roll. Those are assessed values not related to occupancy tax or occupancy tax roll. And now that I'm learning that this is occupancy tax, there aren't the same deadlines. So I think you could do it either way, Commissioner.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like our policy should be to get the correct assessment with the correct homeowner's exemption, whether it goes in favor or against of the property owner. It was a mistake. It was an honest mistake, and we're going to correct that.
And if you're asking me, I would agree with that to the extent we're talking about A, overpayments, overbilling, and B, occupancy tax. But C, if the taxpayer was on the regular, one of the other rolls, okay, not occupancy tax, and they were underbilled effectively because of too much homeowners exemption, you could address it under the recovery procedure. If you want to go after the taxpayer to recover, there's a recovery procedure under G, but it also says under 602G that you can waive that. So that's up to you on that. But if we're talking assessment notices related to the sub or miss roll, that ship has sailed.
Okay.
Right, so.
In my opinion.
Okay, so if these 15 items in front of us that have the homeowners over
Yeah.
exemption, so then the Board of Equalization can say, yes, please correct these in the system, please send out new assessment notices, so then the treasurer can send out the bills.
Again, just clarifying, all 15 of these are occupancy tax cases. Is that
Yes.
correct?
That is correct.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, you can, the ship hasn't sailed on that one. Yeah.
Okay. All right, co-commissioners, what would you like to do?
Don't look at me. I just, this thing, this,
Let's correct it. And
we're
let's
going to correct it, yeah.
send the new roll out, new notices.
And since they
Update,
haven't been
correct the roll.
sent,
It's with the
Yeah.
28-day
They'll have to
notice,
provide 28 days for them to be
appeal.
able to appeal according to the statute.
And for them to do that, they'll have to give you, when they're gonna get the notices out, when the 28 days will expire, so that you can then set up a BOE hearing.
We have them monthly now on the calendar, and so we can just fit them into one that's already scheduled,
Okay.
so. Okay. Motion.
I move that we, well, this will be an interesting one. I move that we approve that the assessor make the adjustment on the roll and resend out the notices to the property owners that are affected in these AINs. Do we need to read every AIN?
And Commissioner Matari, do you want to include all 125 AINs that have corrections that are required, or just the ones with the homeowners over?
I'd say all 125. Let's get everything fixed.
That'll cover probably both items on the agenda.
Okay.
And they're all occupancy, all occupancy.
Well,
Yeah, they're all.
okay, so I move that the assessor go ahead and correct the roll for all 125 AINs for occupancy and send out new notices
Okay.
Allowing the 28 days.
yep.
that allow the 28 days.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, so I understand that takes care of items 1 and 2.
That doesn't, and 3. 3 was, or sorry, not 3, but so on D, that would
Okay.
cover that as well. That was in case you guys went the other way and wanted us to do tax cancellations, but now that we're going to correct it in the roll, we don't have to address that item.
All right, that sounds great. Mr. Dornfest, thank you so much for your help. I'll call for public comment. All right, hearing none, 11:13, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.